All my weekend plans got canceled because I have shingles. Now, have I ever made any sort of tailoring menswear endeavor? Absolutely not. So this is the welt pocket, and so right now I'm just whip stitching the lining in place. This is the back. So since we last left our heroes, we have stitched down pocket flaps, leaving the welt pockets accessible, just hidden under a beautiful little velvet square right there. We have also hemmed the bottom and the inside of the cuffs. We did the fit check, everything checked out, so we should be good to go. So we did pick out some buttons. There are 6 of them. So I'm going to do some buttonholes with the sewing machine, marking out where they need to be to accommodate the 6 buttons, and go from there. I mean, I know that for the couture finish, it should really be the it's welt pockets. Is it the welt buttons? The turning in welty button dudes. Yeah, it should be those. However, we're just going to do the machine ones because it works, and we're going to be as neat and tidy as humanly possible, and it's gonna be good. All right, I have a buttonhole here, a buttonhole here, and a buttonhole here. That's a good place for some buttonholes, if I do say so myself. However, if we want the buttonholes right here on this side to mirror it, well, the back side of this button is slightly yellow. That's where that buttonhole would be, right on that velvet pocket flap. So I could bring these buttons slightly up. I do feel like that's a decent spacing for the buttons, but I still think that I'm gonna need something like a snap or a hook and eye or something on here to keep this closed so that it has better lines. And what do we need besides better lines? We don't want the dress to open up in front, especially around the crotchular area. We do not want that flying open. You can kind of see me. It's very bad though. This is the last bit of our outer fabric. As you can see, there is a significant amount. Is it enough to make a circle skirt for a full-grown man? Potentially, potentially not. You cannot see the little dashy markings, but I have little dashy markings marking out an entire half circle across the folded in half fabric. That's the word for it. How I measured this out, I found how long the fabric was at its narrowest point. That was about 44.5 inches. Then I measured in from a cut edge 44.5 inches, and I decided that was my center point, and I made little radius marks all around the center point at 44.5 inches. So that's where all these markings are coming from. And I'm not sure entirely how much we're gonna have to cut out for the inner circle radius. If it's going to be just attached to the back, then we are going to have to cut out 13.5 or 14 inches to cover the width of the small of the back. Hopefully voiceover me feels like doing math, because right now I cannot think, I can only do. I wrinkled it up. So the giant circle for the skirt is attached to itself. It's constructed with the little bits of seam overhang for, you know, just looping it to itself and making sure everything looks nice and pressed, and just, yeah. I feel like the next step is to work on the poof. I've had this poof in my closet for a while. It is an A-line petticoat for like a wedding dress that I found at Goodwill for like $8. But once again, like, I've had this in my stash for frickin' ever. With the criticisms that I have gotten over the walkaway dress of, oh, you just need a crinoline under there. Once again, a crinoline will not fit. So, and this is the same vibe of, since we are doing a skinny underdress, the crinoline will not fit under the skinny underdress. It has to be a crinoline specific to, what am I saying? It needs to be specifically attached under the overskirt. Yes. So trying to seam rip this skirt apart, it is becoming glaringly obvious that this was serged together to finish the ends. If I take apart the seams, I'm going to have to take apart the overlocking, the seam finishing. I'm going to take this, and instead of having it be a circle, I'm going to cut it at the seam, open it up so that I can form it into the semicircle. It is currently in the middle of June. I want to have this project done by the end of the month. Somewhat of an arbitrary timeline, but I would really like for it to happen. This has gotten to a point where it's very cumbersome. Like, this is a lot of skirt to deal with. Once again, it has a radius of like, oh my goodness. This is just so much skirt right now. I went ahead and folded up the hem a 1/2 inch and folded that up another 1/2 inch. So I took an inch off of the length. That shouldn't be too bad. And I think what I'm going to do is go back to what we did in the walkaway dress, which is do the blind hem on the sewing machine, because that just seems like the easiest thing to do with limited brain space right now, and just a very, very cumbersome thing. Okay, so I did the hemming of the skirt on Saturday, got sick on Sunday, worked and had stuff to do on Monday. Today is Tuesday, and Tuesday is the day that I have assigned myself to get done. I pretty much have the common areas out here to myself, so I really want to get this done. I cut out a rectangle of lining fabric and hemmed it because this is poly satin and there's no way you can iron it, so I just hemmed it with the selvage. If I can attach it to the outer skirt, then attach the poof to the inside, then get it onto a little strip of waistband. I think I can get all those things done today, and that's when I can call the outer skirt done. It is almost 7 o'clock though. Let's see how long it takes me to run out of steam. At this point, I'm trying to just whip stitch down the poof. There is a selvage edge that is a little bit sturdier on the green outer skirt that I am trying to whip stitch down the raw edge of the poof to. I think that like the individual components of this project, they're not bad. I'm just getting severely overwhelmed with how much skirt this is and how much volume this is, because like with my formal dress, my Lady Marlowe like mermaidy thing, I think that it was like skirt wise more complex. I'm not going to say if the suit jacket part of this dress was more complex than that. I think that that was, but right now we're on an easy part. But it's a part that I'm getting so much more overwhelmed with just because it is so voluminous. I'm getting overwhelmed. Like, this skirt is bigger than me. This isn't hard, it's just a lot. It's just a lot. It's puckered. There's a tuck. With that last failure, I'm a little burnt out. We're having guests over to house sit while we're out of town and dog sit. So I'm just gonna try to make sure that this room is guest ready. I need to pause this project for right now because I'm upset. I'm just gonna shove this bag and I'm gonna put it in that closet and I'm not gonna think about it. I will think about it when we get back from the trip. You were inspecting it earlier. Just need attention. Right here was where the pucker was. I unpicked it very, very carefully and you can kind of still see it, but I am confident that when we iron that out, then you can it will disappear. That might or might not. There's like a little blemishy thing there, but I'm confident. And I unpicked the where the poofing was attached at the sides, and now it looks like it's hanging like in its half cone relatively well. So hopefully it can stay like that. Now I am going to shoot, what is it called? I'm going to take the band and fold it right sides together and sew that up so that it can be flipped righty-tighty ways and potentially interfaced to make the back stiff and then attach it onto the back of the underdress. So that's what we're doing right now. This is also just a lot of dress to deal with. How am I supposed to do this? Shit. No. Okay, come on. Just work with me a little bit more. That was not good, but it looks like it worked. I got some edges to trim though. Do you see? Flipped in? It looks like that. It looks like a waistband. Now we gotta stiffen it. Okay, I'm doing a bit more of the cosplay approach to the interior because you can see some of the stitching. Like you can see that I did whip stitching here instead of invisible stitching. And I did the hooks in all that lining. So it's going through like 3 or 4 layers of fabric, like 3 or 4 layers of fabric all here. So it's extra stable in these hooks and it's not pulling on like one bit of fabric as much. And I mirrored that on the little bars that are in the waist of the outer fabric, and they are hooking up. I just made sure that I marked on here. You can still see, like, probably not on camera, just like the faintest of blue lines where the vertical bar was to hook into there. And it hooks on, it holds. The top of this though is like flopping out a little bit, which I'm not super surprised because, like, once again, because we put the hooks down here so that it would have more stability from where all this fabric meets, so that the thread is going through more fabric, then it is flaring out at the top. So what I think is probably the best solution. Instead of hooks, we're gonna use little snaps and just make a little line of snaps across the top. Make sure that everything is marked out on here to make sure it is exactly lined up with snaps. We sew one end of the snap here, mark it out with the little blue pencil, and sew a snap on coordinating here. I think we should be done with the skirt attachment tonight. It should just be a little bit of hand sewing. Just if anyone's curious, this is what pugs sound like after they just had a walk. Shoot, come on.
You did good. Good job. Good boy.
I'm a good boy.
Come over here and get your sleep on it.
I don't wanna. Yeah, this is much higher than Josh's, so it will actually be on the floor. But yeah, this is the amount of volume that we're going with. I think that I do want to say that the hardest part about this, when you think underdress versus overskirt, it would definitely be the tailoring of the underdress. I just got extremely overwhelmed with the sheer volume of the overskirt. Quite frankly, I feel like I would do the underdress without velvet a second time before I would want to do the overskirt, just because of how voluminous it is. That being said, I am still planning on doing a 50s Barbie dress as my next project, so that logic just goes straight out the window. I am mentally prepared to be overwhelmed for the sake of Barbie, but let's see if Josh likes it. Ground rules: if you want to be filmed, you are not allowed to snore. So long story short, the dress did fit. I just didn't necessarily get any footage of Josh in it, and I kind of don't really want to pressure people into, hey, let me take a picture of you or something like that, because that just seems really weird and rude, especially if it's only something that kind of benefits me. Like, that's just kind of bad vibes. But the dress did fit. He liked how it fit. I personally think that it was a little short because it was just like a half inch, maybe an inch off the floor, which is a little bit more than I would personally like. I mean, theoretically, since I did do a half inch fold up and a half inch fold up and then the blind hem, I could, in theory, let it down a half inch and then do bias tape to just make it a slight bit longer. But if he's happy with it, I'm not going to question it. And it will be one of many of his outfits for the night. So I'm sorry that there's not a grand reveal, but I would rather err on the side of caution and privacy than pressure people to do something that they might not be 100% okay with, especially being as internet is internet and very weird sometimes. Erwin just needs a little bit of attention. He loves sewing and knitting and other crafts with me. He's a very crafty boy. Overall, I think that I could have improved on the end product, but I am relatively satisfied. Most importantly, Josh is satisfied, and he's going to be the one wearing the dress. So let me know if you have anything that you would have done differently, or how to manage just that sheer amount of weight in a garment, because it was just so voluminous and so weighty. I think that is why I was just overwhelmed in the end. But let me know with any questions, comments, or concerns down below. New videos should be up on Fridays, but not every Friday. So if you would like to see more, feel free to like this video, subscribe, and hit that little bell icon so you know when I actually do post. Like always, stay happy, stay healthy, and we'll see you next time. Bye. You're just so grumpy. You're such a grumpus. Where did I put that motherfucker? Well, this is not at all pictured well, but my child has found potato chips.